Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to a Monday edition of On Cue, coming at you live inside the friendly studios of SR 1029 FM, The Game, part of the Odyssey family. I'm your host, as always, Rich Quinones. We got an hour to play with. Hope everyone had a wonderful sports weekend. You are enjoying your 30th of March 2026. Get in on the conversation. Very easy to do. You can check us out on YouTube, X, Millions, Rumble, Kicks, and multiple platforms. And as always, get social with me at Rich Q on X and IG, TikTok, Rich Q on Mike. As we like to call a Monday edition of On Cue, a Man Up Monday edition of On Cue. You got to man up for what you said in the previous week. And if you are wrong, we certainly want to hear from you. But we also add a little caveat to the Man Up Monday because we like to throw in there a little Manolo Mentiroso, Locutor de Radio, Lunacy Man Up Monday edition of On Cue. We've got so much to get into, and oh my goodness, where do you friggin' begin? Can we just say it right now? Can we just say it right now? March Madness, like, it's the best time of the year. Now, obviously, it did not work out for me Friday with St. John's, who just could not figure out a way to take care of Duke and handle that zone, which we'll get into in a couple moments. But Saturday, Sunday, yesterday, Duke, UCONN, an absolute game for the ages. It was a game for the ages, and I was calling a game in North Jersey, got home, saw the final 10 minutes, plotted down, sat down, had the dog with me, watching everything unfold, and I didn't realize until I was listening to the broadcast, and because I was listening to the game driving home. So I was kind of in or out going through traffic because it was pretty nuts yesterday coming back from North Jersey. But I didn't realize Duke, you know, in my zest for getting home quickly, was up 19 in this game. And the just absolute, you can't make this up, the most bizarre ending, the most ridiculous, unfathomable ending you'll see in a basketball game. That game is won by Duke. All you need to do is cleanly get the ball across the timeline or freeze up in a shell if you're Boozer, and you probably get fouled, and you go to the line, and that's probably the ball game. But how about this? They teach you this as a kid. They teach you this as a kid on the blacktop, then in high school, then in intramurals, then in college. You know, keep that ball moving around. Don't be so lax. And what happens? Down in this game, needing a miracle, needing an absolute miracle. So UConn is down by 3. And Damari Jr. makes 1 or 2 free throws with 10 seconds left. So Duke is trying to play keep away. They don't want UConn to foul. Caden Boozer's pass near the midcourt. It's deflected by Damari. And then UConn came up with the ball. And in the hands, it goes to a kid that doesn't even look like he's 13 years old. Braylon Mullins, who absolutely shot that friggin' ball with stones. You know, as Raph says, onions. As Patino would say, church bells. I mean, the balls on this kid, catch, release, rhythm, nylon. Unbelievable. Drains the 3. Frantic moments. I just, for the life of me, I keep replaying that moment over and over and over. And there are so many different scenarios. And this is why Scheyer's getting crushed today. But Duke had no business losing that game. None at all. And the worst thing is, this is like back-to-back just debacles. And UConn couldn't hit anything from beyond the arc. They were 5 of 23. Oh, by the way, 2 of them came with under a minute to go. What a collapse by Duke with the Final Four at stake. Oh, by the way, top overall seed. They led by 19. They led by 6 with a $1:14 to go before they lost to Houston last year in the national semis. And then yesterday, it pained me to watch Hurley win. It really did. But you cannot, under any circumstances, if you are Duke, choke away that game. You can't. You just cannot lose that friggin' basketball game. And credit to UConn, because you got players at times, a young kid doesn't even know any better. And this kid, Braylon Mullins, I mean, what a shooter. Ref said what? They make him down there. They grow him pretty big on the farm down there in Indiana. To watch Duke get bounced after they had to bounce St. John's, I was loving it. But then to watch Hurley celebrate, I wasn't loving it. But that was the most craziest, bizarre ending you will ever see in a basketball game. And the other thing, too, that really goes unnoticed with that game is that you almost wonder what the game plan was for Hurley. Were they going to foul? You know, were they out there? Did he basically set it up where, look, we got to foul and get him on the line. We got to try to figure out a way, get a miss or extend the game. But that was one of the most thrilling final moments of a March Madness game with the Final Four on the line. And if you are a Duke fan today, oh my goodness. If you are a Duke fan today, you just like UNC wanted Hubert Davis out, how do you sit here and go to bat for Scheyer? I mean, what a friggin' choke job. By the way, this is 2 years in a friggin' row that Duke has choked. You're talking about some of the worst collapses in the history of March Madness, in the history of college hoops. Soft. Choke artists. I mean, you got 5-star friggin' recruits, and this is the second year in a row. It's one of the worst collapses in the history of the sport. It is. And I was loving it. Like, Hubert Davis got fired from UNC because he blew a 19-point lead this year against VCU. How in the world does Scheyer last year when you blow a 19-point lead with the Final Four right there? And again, the basketball IQ, the lack of basketball acumen late in that game, the lack of adjustments late in that game. Come on. That is just... You've got 36 friggin' 5-star players in the span of 11 years, and you haven't played in one championship game? I mean, you want to talk about debacle, choke, implosion, overrated, overhyped? Wow. I'm sorry. There's no way. There is no way that if you are Duke, you have to consider firing this guy. Now, this is not, again, prisoner of the moment. You can't lose that game. You just can't. It's unacceptable. There's absolutely no way you lose that game. And again, the lack of basketball awareness and basketball IQ from Boozer, you just saw they panicked. They froze up. They went in the little turtle shell. That's exactly what they did. The moment was too bright. They did a poor job of hitting free throws down the line. But that is one of the worst collapses I've ever seen on the basketball floor. That, to me, am I going to equate that to downtown Freddie Brown throwing it away? Or, Weber with the timeout? It's there. I mean, it's right there. It really is. It's literally right there. That was as worse as a loss, a collapse that I can ever recall by a big-time program. And the head coach has to take some major friggin' hits today. He has to. You cannot, if you are a fan of the Blue, I mean, you can't sit there saying to yourself, oh my God, this guy's getting a free pass. No way. No way. With the Final Four on the line? I mean, how many times is Duke going to invent ways to lose a game? I mean, and trust me, I know what it's like blowing games. I've been a Giant fan my whole life. I've seen chokes. I've seen it from the Knicks. I've seen it from the Yankees back in the day. I've seen it from the Rangers. But this? Oh my God. I mean, that kid just shot it with just the utmost confidence. He just pulled the trigger. Once you saw they trapped and they got two right in the corner, And once they threw it back to Boozer and it was tipped, I said, oh my God, they got a shot here. And the presence of mind to the wing to get it to this kid. And even before that, the possession before that with the three, which kind of really jump-started and made Duke panic. They absolutely panicked. And now the Final Four is set. March Madness, you cannot beat it. You cannot beat it at all. You got Illinois against UConn. That'll be Saturday, 6:09. Michigan and Arizona. I mean, you got the top two seeds right there, respectively. And think about this, if you had the chalk, right? You got 3, 2, 1, 1, and here we go with the right to play on, I think they're going to have, what is that, Monday night, right? So there you go. You got the Final Four Saturday. We got the championship game right on the horizon. And what a hell of a tournament. Absolutely hell of a tournament. I mean, it's just been phenomenal. It's been absolutely phenomenal. But what a friggin' choke job. What a choke job by Duke. And like I said, if UNC fires Hubert Davis after blowing a 19-point lead to VCU, and they don't nearly have the type of talent that Duke has acquired over the last several seasons, how the hell does Scheyer have a job? How in the world? And Hurley, you know, this is the best thing about when you listen to all these calls. Like Harlan's, Eagles call was fantastic with Grant Hill and Raft. And it shows, it speaks to how they are elite because they let up. They basically laid up and let the Birdman make his call, right? And you just saw like the reaction from Raftery. You saw the reaction from Hill. I mean, Hill, give him credit because, you know, I mean, obviously this is a guy that bleeds Duke. But we almost lost the Raft Man yesterday. I mean, it absolutely looked, it was just chaos. It was chaos. And like I said, I love the fact that they knew when to lay up. Like, you know, Iron Eagle had to call, and then Raftery just basically was like, unbelievable. Unbelievable. Like, almost, like, no words. Inexcusable. Are you kidding me? Onions. Like, it was unbelievable. And Grant Hill, I don't know, man. Like, Grant Hill looked like he had his soul snatched from him. But I give him credit. You know, he just basically, he called what he saw, and that's all you can do. I mean, you know, but there was a moment where it was almost like, yo, man, it's 2 a.m. last call. Can we friggin' leave the bar? And the Duke call was great on the radio because, you know, you're such a sore friggin' loser because you're getting pissed off that Hurley's kind of like rubbing heads with the one ref, and then the kid runs on the floor and you're calling for a T. Come on, man, shut up, Duke radio. You blew a friggin' 19-point lead. Knock it off. Nobody wants to friggin' hear you. All right, 43 past the 3 o'clock hour. Let's open it up. DB chimes in on a Monday. I'm worried if I pick another team, they're going to lose. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you on that one, brother. And I can't talk. I was very confident I thought St. John's was going to beat Duke on Friday. And I'll say this, as great as Pitino is, because I was waxing poetic about Pitino, you know, after they had to win over Kansas and the Darling play, and they had an opportunity. That kid got a clean look. St. John's could not handle that 2-3 zone. And I have no idea for the life of me what the hell Pitino was thinking, taking prey out of that game. It was just how Hurley drew it up. Yeah, right? Exactly. He's so friggin' annoying. I cannot stand Hurley. I can't. I mean, this guy's got like 9 lives. He's so annoying. He really is. He's so annoying. And I just, you know, I love the reaction from the family. You know, it's like, oh my effing blah, blah, blah. I mean, look, he's a great coach. Don't get me wrong. I can do without the theatrics. But he's a great coach. That's probably why I can't stand him. But seriously, it's just, that, to me, that game, not only does it haunt you as a fan, but that's kind of right now going to be the blemish. So we always talk about how great Pitino is. Now, I'm not comparing the two. For as great as a head coach, and you can argue Pitino might be the greatest college men's basketball coach of all time, his lot in life is always going to be what? The shot. It's going to be Leitner. It's going to be Hill to Leitner, Duke, Kentucky, and the fact that he never faced guard at Grant Hill. Scheyer, if this guy goes on and coaches for 15, 20 years, and I don't know if he is, his lot in life is going to be what? His lot in life is going to be yesterday. It's going to be yesterday. And the inability to coach these guys up and sound basketball, smart basketball, zero basketball IQ, zero adjustments. I mean, and I love Raf's call, utterly impossible major onions. Michael chimes in, Broncos country in March. Why not? UNC has to go after Hurley. Thoughts? They're going to go definitely outside of the family. I think we all know that. I don't know what Hurley's contract is. I'd have to look. I think it was like a 5-year deal, right? Relatively as recent as what? 2023, 2024. Like he's not going anywhere, to be honest. Remember too, Danny Hurley rejected an offer to coach the Lakers. I mean, you're talking about a head coach who's one of the highest paid head coaches in college basketball. Why would you want to go to UNC when you got this program and you might get to another championship game and you might win a title? Like, why? To me, if I'm Hurley, I'm not going anywhere. I mean, his incentives are ridiculous. He outcoached. He flat out coached Scheyer yesterday. Outcoached him. Outclassed him. Outcoached him. Never panicked. Never wilted. Duke got so tight when UConn got that down to double digits. He got beyond tight. But if I'm Hurley, I'm not going anywhere. I am not going anywhere. I'm talking about now building a legacy. To think, you have an opportunity to coach in the NBA, a marquee franchise, right? Like the Lakers. And you decide, no, you're not doing it. What does that tell you? Now, you can sit there and say, you didn't think maybe my success in college is not going to equate into the pro game. I don't know. But, I mean, you're talking about a head coach that has won back-to-back, right? 2023, 24, back-to-back championships. He's not going anywhere. The guy's young. He's 52, 53. So I'm not going to UNC. Absolutely not. Sorry chimes in, Q. That was utterly impossible to watch. I cannot believe it, but I love the reaction from the family. Mom was dropping F-bombs. Yeah. Now, everyone will sit there and say, did he deserve a technical after the game-winning shot because he went face-to-face with the ref? Now, again, listen. This is a perfect example. Reputation precedes players and coaches. So Hurley has a little Sirianni in him. The antics, the high energy, the sideline nonsense, right? It didn't change yesterday. So Mullins buries the game-winning three with 0.4 seconds left. We know UConn, the win, 73-72. Here we go, knock out Duke in the Elite Eight. Hurley goes face-to-face with one of the refs after the shot. So there was still 0.4 seconds left on the clock. He wasn't given a technical foul, despite coming in contact with the referee, resulting in UConn moving on to the Final Four. Now, people will sit there and say, you should have got a technical foul. There's no bias here, but that's a tech 10 out of 10. I saw that Sam Decker, that played with Wisconsin, who played in the Final Four in 2014-15 with those, what was the, oh my goodness, what was that coach, right? Was that Bo Ryan? Right, Bo Ryan, those great Wisconsin squads. He said this on X. He said, I have no bias here. This is a tech 10 out of 10 for multiple reasons. It would have lost the game for his team, and he would have tried to fight the officials like he did nothing wrong. I just don't understand it at all. Also, referees need to grow a spine in an instance like this. Now, you got Terry McAuley, and again, do with it what you will when you hear him and Steratore. And let's just be honest, stick to the friggin' NFL guys. He wrote, under no circumstances should behavior like this go unpenalized, regardless of the sport or game situation. Not unexpected by this coach. Deeply disappointed the official didn't do his job. Now, others will contend he was buddy friendly with the guy, and that's just who he is. But then you listen to Duke's radio play-by-play guy. You know, saltiness after Smith came off the bench, after Mullins shot, ran off the bench. That should be a technical. Yeah, probably by the letter of the law, sure. But they're not going to call it. They're just not. They're just not. I mean, let's be honest. Let's just call it for what it is. You might sit there and say the letter of the law, but it's not happening. It's just not happening. All right, quick timeout. A lot of comments coming in. We'll roll through them. Keep it locked in. Monday edition of On Q. Rich Quinones here. We're powered by our good friends over at Play It Again Sports. 2 locations, 1450 Clements Bridge Road in Deptford, and, of course, in Mount Laurel. Quick timeout. We'll come back. All right, welcome back, everyone. 3:53 on the East Coast, fast approaching 4 o'clock on a Monday. Rich Quinones here on Q. Let me get to some of these comments. DB says it shouldn't have come down to having a whine about a technical, 100%. Michael chimes in, there's no way they're calling a tech on the UConn guy leaving the bench in that moment. 100%. I agree 100%. But what happens is you get, and listen, I do play-by-play for a living. I get it. I understand. Refs make the call. They're not going to make the call. It is what it is. But you're right. I don't see that happening. And all you're hearing is like saltiness from the radio booth. That's it. They're not going to give him a tee. There was no way they were going to tee up Hurley in that instance. They weren't. So, like, you got to stop the crying and the bitching. And the Duke radio guys, shut up already about the kid coming off the bench. It's just, listen, whether it's the letter of the law or not, like you guys have said, you're not going to tee him. Are you kidding me? Can you imagine? Can you imagine if they teed him up, what would happen? Oh, my God. It would not even be pandemonium. It would be a riot. It would be one of the, beyond, if this is not one of the all-time bizarre endings of a March Madness game, of a college basketball game, with the right to go to the Final Four, but take it a step further. I mean, look, they're kids, man. They're going to get excited. They're running on the floor. It happens. But you're not teeing them up Don't blow the lead. Make your free throws down the stretch. Knock down a freaking three. Get a rebound. Get a loose ball. Get the ball across the timeline. Hello? Is that too hard to do? I mean, you got wall-to-wall All-Americans. You do. You got the best of the best here with Duke. And I'm telling you, once, if you go back and you watch the last series, sometimes it's like, it's almost this hot potato, right? Once they turned around and they trapped right off the wing, right? And they had the little triangle and they tried to cut him off. Once Boozer got it, he panicked. He absolutely panicked. If you slow it down, I mean, you got the two converge and he was trying to get it over the top. Hold on to the ball, curl up, go to a turtle, go to a shell. You're going to get fouled. You're going to get fouled, or worst case scenario, the clock's going to wind down because maybe they don't get to you fast enough. But it was set up because, again, they were aggressive, obviously, on the inbound. I'm telling you, watch the play over and over. The one kid had two men on him, drops it back under the basket. Then, all of a sudden, that forces the pass to go right in the middle of the floor to Boozer, who had no idea what to do with it. He just did it. So defensively, that was an unbelievable adjustment. It really was. Once they trapped, you get it right under the basket, which is always a no-no. And you had the one defender rotate. The two came out. They tipped it. They played it perfectly. And it was an errant pass. I mean, he could have just thrown it up in the air, even though we saw that years ago in the NBA. He just froze. He lost. The moment was too big for Boozer. And I get it. Both, these kids are freshmen. They're young kids. They panicked. That's exactly what it was. They panicked. But they should have never been in that situation. And when you blow a game like that, it falls on the head coach. It just falls on the head coach. And I feel as though we always want to give the coach a pass because now I'm saying these kids are young. Listen, UNC had a 19-point lead against VCU. They had zero adjustments. They couldn't stop runs. Hubert Davis was running guys in the ground. Listen, it cost him his job. It cost him his job. If they tee him up, it would have been like USA-Russia basketball game at Munich. Oh, you're talking about the Doug Collins play under the basketball, right? Under the basket. Yeah, it would have been just I don't even want to know what would have transpired. But you're not going to tee up the kid. You're not going to get on Hurley. That was an epic friggin' choke job. And Mullins, it shows you how smart this kid is. Hot potato, get rid of it, set yourself, a little bit of space, boom. More times than not, you know what a player might do in that situation? Like if you are Mullins, you might not even think to get it across the timeline. You might think to just kind of dribble and just heave it up. He got it across quickly to the timeline, went right to the wing. He flashed. He showed himself. And by that time, if you actually stop the video, look where all the Duke players had no idea what the hell was going on. That kid had at least, it looked like 4 feet in front of him to pull the trigger. And it was, by the way, it wasn't even a contested shot. It wasn't even a contested shot. I mean, this kid had a clean look and he stroked it with confidence. Because he's young, he's naive, he doesn't know any better. That was textbook defense and textbook choking, and the moment was too big for Duke, and UConn seized it. That's all that was, folks. I've called games my entire life on various levels. I mean, that you just got the feeling once the three fell and they pressed again, panic set in. Panic set in. That's why I'm a little surprised. If you are Boozer, you figure, okay, you got to foul me. But he froze. Man chimes in. Afternoon, folks. Happy no more. Duke in the tourney. Yes, correct. Duke in the tourney. Duke out of the tourney. Duke out of the tourney. Duke. All right, let me get to Mark and Wallingford. Q, I know it's basketball one-on-one and you're a big-time hoops fan. I'm not going to sit there and say that the kids choked. They're still 18 years old, but I do believe the moment was too big. But that's an semblance of choking. Like, I'm not trying to be, not, insensitive. And I just thought it was defensively what they did after they hit that three. You just saw Duke started to tighten up. I mean, they panicked. And when they pressed and they didn't face guard, but when they pressed and they had two right near, if you paused the video, you watched the last sequence, the two UConn defenders played the ball, forcing the player to give it right back to the player under the basket. So now all of a sudden, the other defender to the left, his job is sprint again, get hands up, face guard, disrupt. Boozer did what he should have done. He flashed, he cleared out, and he gave a passing lane. He did everything he should have done. That's basketball 101. But where he failed is as soon as, first of all, you don't even need to take a dribble. That's number one. But he took the dribble because he had to turn around. See, if that pass is a little different, if he catches it and he's moving to his left, then he can take his dribble, the head up, and now you're releasing. But because the way he ran over, his back was to the defenders, then he had to dribble and turn around and try to make the pass. That was a problem. That was a problem. Now, you might sit there and say, are you kidding me? How much? No, I'm not nitpicking. That's just basketball 101. Catches it, and then again, because the back was to the defenders, he had to quickly put it on the floor with the right hand and then still try to fire the pass and kind of cock his hand back. It was a recipe for disaster. And then Mullins gives it up, gets it back, and then boom. That was a thing of beauty. So it's ultimately, again, the pressure. So you guys can sit there and say I'm being overly critical, and I love the nuances of the game, but ultimately in that situation, they choked. That's it. You choked. 18, 19, 20-year-olds, 35-year-olds, 40-year-olds, you choked. And your head coach didn't do you any favors. He didn't. He didn't do you any favors. He just didn't. Joe D. Summers Point chimes in Q. No way are they going to friggin' tee up the coach. Come on. I agree. It's not going to happen. You can't have back-to-back years like Duke had and back-to-back losses in just ridiculously gut-wrenching fashion. I mean, let's not even get started with what transpired with Houston. But, I mean, come on. I'm watching Scheyer yesterday. He looks like he went to the Hubert Davis School of Game Management. He did. Do you understand Duke's pedigree over the last several years and the players that they've had? What have they won? I'll equate it to the Yankees. Let's spend, homegrown, spend. Here we go. Bring in the marquee all-stars. Here we go. They got what? What do they have to show for? Last title was 2009, if you're a Yankees fan. That game is going to haunt Duke. And if you're Hurley, I'm not going anywhere. I'm locked in. Here we go. And our Final Four is set. So we'll continue to get your thoughts on that. We got some NFL to dive into, 4 o'clock straight up. Some interesting little buzz going on in the NFL. We'll mix in a little baseball. But as I mentioned, you guys out there getting on the conversation, you can hashtag on Q. Quickie timeout. We will come back on the other side. Keep it locked in on a Monday edition. All right, couple minutes past 4 o'clock hour on a Monday edition of On Cue. So how about this? We'll get back to your comments. How about this with the NFL? So for the Eagles fans that are obsessed with A.J. Brown and want to talk friggin' Philadelphia Eagles, because I'm sure that's all Philadelphia radio talks about 24/7 because they have no depth or context whatsoever. So they're probably talking A.J. Brown, A.J. Brown, A.J. Brown, A.J. Brown, A.J. Brown. Or maybe they're doing the old comparisons. Is McNabb better than Romo? Who the hell knows? I don't know. It's for the rats out there. But anyway, Howie Roseman basically came out and said, "Nah, that's it. A.J. Brown, he's a member of the Philadelphia Eagles." So, again, let's just put it to bed for now, and we'll deal with it if or when they decide to move on from him. What I thought was fascinating over the weekend is that the Rams were looking to trade Adams, and they decided against it. And then, and I didn't even bring this up last week, apparently the Giants offered Stafford like $100 million, and Stafford said, "No, thank you." I didn't say recently, but that was the other rumor that was floating out there. And speaking of the Giants, let's not get giddy. Stop with the, reunion, Odell Beckham. Stop. Stop, stop, stop. You know what's interesting? I know that Harbaugh said he was open to a reunion. Odell Beckham Jr., I mean, they should have a 30 for 30 on Beckham Jr. They should. The rat ship should. The mothership should down the road. Odell Beckham Jr. was well on his way to a Hall of Fame career. If you look at his numbers the first 5 years with the Giants, and then he made the comment after they paid him and they traded him, he threw his quarterback under the bus. He had a 1,000-yard campaign with Cleveland in 2019. Now, you want to sit there and say, okay, he made plays for the Rams a couple years ago when they won the Super Bowl, whatever. He has done nothing. He has done nothing the second leg of his career, and he's dealt with so many injuries. I mean, you're talking about a guy that was 1,300, 1,400, 1,300, 1,000, 1,300. He was well on his way to like 15,000 receiving yards, well over 100-something on touchdowns. Odell Beckham Jr. will go down as one of the most overrated friggin' players in NFL history. And the worst thing to happen to Odell Beckham Jr. was that catch on Sunday Night Football against the Dallas Cowboys in a game in which they lost. Because then all of a sudden, the legacy, the lore, it was built, it was ingrained, and here we go. You hear Al Michaels, Eli, oh, flag on the play. Whoa, did he catch it? Did he? Yeah, it was one of the greatest catches I've ever seen. And he made a habit of doing that. And what happened with Odell, you realize the year that Odell Jr., I felt, was done with the Giants. I really did. There was one moment where I said to myself, there's absolutely no way you can have Odell Beckham Jr. on this team. And that was the game against Carolina. That was the game against Carolina. And by the way, that was his second season, I believe, his third season. Coughlin lost the team that day. I never saw a player act as much as a punk as Odell did. Now, I get it. Josh Norman was getting under his skin. I get it. Would have been one of the greatest comebacks in NFL history. They were down 35 points in that game. That's the game that Newton stretched a 3rd and 15, ran for like 20-something yards, basically solidified his MVP. And I know the numbers, Beckham that day. I get it. That was a crazy game, right? It was a crazy game. But that's the day that Coughlin lost the Giants, and that's the day I had no respect for Odell Beckham Jr., and I was done with him. I was done with him after that. To hell with this. I don't even care about the boat trip and all the other stuff and the drop balls. But this is a guy that had all the talent in the world, and what did he do with his career? Seriously. What did he do? It will go down as, I think, one of the most disappointing, overrated careers in NFL history. AJ is gone June 1st, just like Ayuk is out. San Fran, same date. Are we marking the tape? It's just fun to think about. OBJ is done. OBJ is done. DB, we can't even have fun thinking about that. We don't want that bad juju creeping into Big Blue. We don't want that. Harbaugh wants Odell, not because of what he did in his little cup of coffee with the Ravens. He's still thinking about that 4th and 3 slant play, Eli to Beckham. But yeah, I found that fascinating that the Rams were looking to trade Adams, and I'm glad that Howie said what he said. And listen, you might think that the Eagles still move on from A.J. Brown. I don't know. We can talk about that post June 1st, that cut, that date. That's fine. That's fine. And I just believe right now, the only reason he said it is because, yes, we know it's easier to trade A.J. Brown after June 1st. But I still think if they did that, this offense is going to take a hit. But like I said, I'm not going to talk 24/7 about A.J. Brown. I just found it interesting that, Howie Roseman said what he said, because apparently everyone and their mother on a Monday wants to talk Eagles and A.J. Brown. Hello, did we not have one of the great all-time endings in a March Madness game ever? Dookie 6 chimes in QQQ. I don't know where to begin. I'm in utter disbelief. Yes, I want Jon Scheyer fired, but I'm not going to go and sit there and say that these kids choked. You can't, oh man, you can't have it both ways. So if you want the coach fired, I understand that, but there's an element of firing the head coach, and you got to tie it into the kids who just froze up. Listen, it's not, you're 18, 19, 20 years old. It happens, man. The bright lights. I've seen it with fighters. 6-7-0, hot prospect. All of a sudden, you're going against that journeyman, the guy with 20-something odd fights, little knockout power. And now you think it's going to be give me, and the lights are too bright, and your ass is on the canvas. So, again, let's not, I think at this point, they were up 19, and they basically thought the game was over. That's coaching. That's coaching. That is coaching. You put them away. You put them away. Spurrier chimes in Q. Despite the refs in their pockets all game, Duke had one of the greatest blown games of all time. Could have happened to a better team. Diamond Hand chimes in QQQ. I know you're a Duke hater. Hey, everyone out there, enjoy your Leitner moment. No shot that they're going to win on Saturday. Really? I mean, you can't sit there and crush UConn. They just beat you. Oh my God, Duke fans are friggin' annoying. I don't know. It's like they're like Yankees fans, and I'm a Yankee fan. They're like Eagles fans. It's like, come on. That shot, I kind of equate that shot to the Villanova UNC, the Jenkins play. It almost seemed like it was, Jenkins was a little more to the right, but the presence of mind to get the ball out of the hands, show flash, and then boom, drop. Just, the funniest thing that I really enjoyed was, that jackass Carlos Boozer waving goodbye to St. John's, right? Waving goodbye to St. John's fans. And St. John's, they had a hell of a run. I think Patino got out coached in the second half. The 2-3 was just nightmares for St. John's, but I got to see Boozer kind of wave bye-bye, and then you see his reaction yesterday. Ha! Get out. Get out. Smooth G chimes around. Q college basketball, brother, is better than NBA basketball any day of the week. I can't argue with that. March Madness is unbelievable. And the funny thing is, we got some wild moments, right? But we saw, the Darling play, and then yesterday. John chimes in on XQ. Excellent job breaking down that last possession. Think about this. Incredible game by Boozer. Number 2. Played a great game. His inexperience showed up at the biggest moment. He's going to learn and grow from it, but I really appreciated what you broke down that last video. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't have it up on the screen. I didn't pull it up, but I'm replaying it, and I can stop it as I speak to you guys while I'm on the air. And yeah. So defensively, that was a great play to get a pull up and, again, deflect it. Now, I think the Boozers are good players, but I also think they're very young and green. They turn the ball over a lot. Again, though, I'm not trying to be overly critical, but I just don't think his basketball IQ was where it needed to be on that play. That's all. Again, I'm gonna simplify this. That last possession, everything had to be clean. Everything had to be clean, right? If you are going to even remotely try to run the baseline, it's got to be clean. If I'm running back towards you and I receive it, it's got to be clean. And even a little hesitation, like whoops, little buttery fingers, but I still, that just, the reaction time of everyone else on the floor. The perfect analogy I can give you is in NFL terms is this. And I can't watch the game. I refuse to watch it because that game haunts me. But Deshaun Jackson's punt return against the Giants. If you go back and watch that, this, and just again, you guys don't like when I say follow along, so just kind of follow with me. Sorry, man. Deshaun Jackson doesn't field the punt cleanly. He doesn't. He muffs the punt. But because he muffed the punt, your reaction time, the gunners, the special teams unit of the Giants, now all of a sudden, your thought is to go run right at him because he kind of muffs. He picks it up. Now I overshot. Like my reaction time is screwed. Because of the muff, that opened up everything. Right? Now, flip it. Go back to yesterday and watch. Sideline to sideline. As soon as he gets that pass in, okay, it wasn't clean. It wasn't. The kid almost like traps it, bounces it, and then forces it. Now, it gives that defender a little bit of time to maybe pull Boozer, who needs to be where he needs to be, which he did, because now all of a sudden you got the trap. You basically now have the 2v1, right? Once Boozer grabs it, his back is towards the defenders. Now he's got to spin around. The presence of mind should have been, don't even spin around, hold the ball. You're not going to dribble because now you risk it getting stolen, but there's not enough time, I don't think, even if he does that, to get a shot off. But because he spins around, picks up the dribble, now you got two defenders converging on him, just like anything else, right? You never leave your feet. But in this case, they did, and they timed it perfectly. All you got to do is get one paw. And you saw him, he had to throw it over the defender. Even if he just throws it like that, the game's over. But you don't even want to put him in that position. Once it's tipped, and Mullins had the presence of mind, kick it out, trail on the play, and then again, Duke, they just defensively panicked. You had three guys slide over. You don't need that. It's not weak side help on the baseline. So three defenders slid over. So now it's an easy pass right back to Mullins. Receive it, clean look, game over. That's it. That's coaching. You have to coach these kids every possible scenario on the floor. That is coaching. That's all I'm saying. So you can't tell me, yes, to what Joe's saying and Tom is saying and Mark and Wallingford, who's a high school baseball coach, who knows? You gotta prep them for every moment. Like if this happens, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna foul? Are we gonna drop back? Is it a 2-3? Is it a 3-2? Am I gonna play off the ball? Am I gonna face guard? That's coaching. You gotta run through every single solitary scenario in your head. And the great coaches, they plan for that. The legendary coaches, they have it instilled in these kids. I'm not gonna tell you Hurley's a legendary coach. But what if this guy wins again? What if he wins multiple? What if he wins a couple more in addition to? So even the great coaches can also be out-coached, like Pitino was the other day. Why are you taking Prey out? How come you can't adjust to the zone? This is a perfect comment. The kids were ill-prepared by the coach. Facts. Tell Dookie 6 I just watched the endgame highlights again. There's some salty Duke fans on my timeline. Absolutely. This is a great comment. The kids were ill-prepared by the coach. It's 100% accurate. They're going to replay that game over and over. Kevin CQ, I can't believe he actually brought up that game, but it's not apples and oranges. That's actually a very good analogy. It is. I can't watch that game. I refuse to. But he didn't field the punt cleanly. And because of the hesitation, then all of a sudden, I can't get, a clean paw on it. I'm thinking I'm going to come in this way on the tackle, and because, I don't, Deshaun Jackson doesn't pick up. It just throws the timing off, is what I'm saying, to shorten it up. Eagles always making about them, even with the Duke law. Oh, it is a choke. It comes with the territory of D1 athletes, especially at that level. Yeah. It's a choke. Beyond classless by Boozer at the end of the St. John game. And Darling got a clean friggin' look, by the way, man. They just could not. And they hit everything from beyond the arc. I don't understand. What was Patino thinking? Your best player. Zuby, we knew he was going to have a difficult game. Hopkins was turned into X Factor, and Prey was knocking down 3-point shots, and you take him out of the game. Made no sense. Keep it 100% with the brutal questions. If you had to choose one, what would it be? Support the Eagles or Duke? Oh. I mean, I'll support Duke 1,000 times more than I will never, ever. I don't even like the color green, even though you see a little turquoise right there. Come on. I mean, that's just, if you were to say right now, if you're asking me the Mount Rushmore of teams I despise, Eagles are at the top. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. The Eagles are at the top. And believe it or not, you would think it would be Boston Red Sox or the Boston Celtics or the Chicago Bulls or Indiana and Reggie. It's not. It's Notre Dame. I cannot stand Notre Dame. I love the movie Rudy, but I can't stand Notre Dame. Then I would throw the Red Sox in there. I would throw the Bulls and Jordan and the Pacers and Reggie. And then I'm definitely throwing Duke. And it's funny too, because years ago my father would always say, death, taxes, and Duke making the Final Four. That was the norm. Duke was always making the Final Four. It was a foregone conclusion. But I just never liked Duke. And it's not like I liked UNC. But I just thought Duke, had this air about them, right? Maybe because they were beating St. John's, they were winning ACC tournaments, they were making deep runs in the playoffs. It was like year in and year out, it was Duke, ad nauseum. But no, I'll keep it 100%. The team I would support out of the two, if you back me in a corner, it's Duke. If you ever told me, would there ever be a day where I would root for the Philadelphia Eagles and cheer for the Philadelphia Eagles, I would say, unless flames were burning around me. And that's not going to be the case. I'm not doing it. I'm not. Fine, we'll follow you. All right, I think you should. Great comment, Vinny. I love the Irish. I'm afraid to say my next comment due to judgment by Q. Go ahead. No. Fire away. Listen, this is like, what is that? The Planet Fitness? This is a no judge zone. It's a Man Up Monday. You know this man, as well as anyone, as one of our top viewers, commenters, observers. You know it's a Lunes Mentiroso Locutor de Radio Manolo Man Up Monday. Fire away. Go ahead. Fire away. You got free reign. Have you guys been watching? Whoa. I mean, now it's just, come on. Oh my God. I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, I try to teach you guys. I try to have patience. I tried to mold you. I tried to educate. I tried to give you the, just entertaining conversation, sports talk, movie talk, entertainment talk. And yes, and instantly, that's right, Insta bubbles. How the hell in the world have you never seen the movie Rudy? I mean, was it far-fetched? Yes. Was it 100% accurate? No, but it is a inspirational family fun movie. Come on, man. Rudy Rudiger, are you kidding me? Charles Dutton's in it, Ned Beatty, Vince Vaughn, John Favreau, right? Right. He's in it. Shawnee Astin. Come on. Uh, it's a good movie. I mean, obviously it has your, you know, your sappiness, right, at the end. But it is based on the true story of Rudy Rudiger, who was a Notre Dame walk-on. That is a true story. I mean, he was, you talk about, it was like, think of, um, Invincible, right? Vince Papali, open tryout, makes the Eagles for a couple seasons. Like, Rudy had no shot in hell in getting to Notre Dame, let alone playing football. It's a good movie. It was a very good movie. It wasn't a great movie, but it was a really good movie. If we were to sit there and say all time great inspirational Cinderella movies, to me, I still believe like The Natural was supernatural, right? Rudy was good, but Gene Hackman and Hoosiers. I saw that movie in the movie theater with my father, and as soon as I came home, we were shooting hoops in the driveway. Like Hoosiers is an all-time classic. And what's interesting, when I did radio in Ohio, we went to a game, and I believe that's where they filmed the championship game. I think, was it Butler? I don't recall. But Hoosiers, to me, is your all-time great underdog, inspirational, classic sports movie. So, again, if you didn't see Rudy and you didn't see Hoosiers, there might have to be like a couple-day ban. And instantly, it's only because, again, I'm not judging. We're not judging you. I think it's more of a little disappointment, shock, kind of like the shot yesterday. Hoosiers was great. Hoosiers, go back and watch it. It's unbelievable. It's a fantastic movie. Jimmy Chitwood, you kidding me? Come on. I've seen Invincible. Wanted to puke throughout. Had a feel-good story about a effing eagle. So I finished real quick. Night Manager. Finished The Night Agent. And I'm telling you guys, if you have HBO, watch DTF St. Louis. It's messed up. It really is. It is a messed up show. But it's just goofy. It's a dark comedy. Jason Bateman, David Harbour's in it. Jason Bateman is friggin' fantastic. He's a very good actor, but oh my God, it's so bizarre. And Dark Winds, caught up with that. Excellent show. And I have like my list that I have to go through. Blue Chip with Shaq was better than Hoosiers. Now that's going to cost you a ban right there. I mean that's going to cost you a ban. I mean that's come on. Now you want to sit there and say that you love the fact that Ricky Rowe basically told Pete Bell he wants a friggin' tractor and 30 in cash in one of those little bags. Okay, am I going to believe that? Are you going to sit there and tell me, is there a real life Butch McRae somewhere and his mom gets a nice house? Ed O'Neill as the reporter asking if he took money, right? If he knew about the shaving of the points. It was a good movie. It was a good movie, but, it wasn't a great movie. It's one of those, it's not a direct story, but it did directly, the premise of Blue Chips is all those basketball scandals, right? And all the illegal recruiting practices. And oh, by the way, before Blue Chips, guess what? They were doing that AAU. They were doing that AAU in New York, All-American McDonald's. I mean, they were giving kids cash in a bag. I don't know. I don't know about you. You might fall under questioning. I don't know. I really don't know about you, man. Very questionable. Very, very, very questionable. 4 days in October is the greatest 30-30 next to the U. No, not at all. No. The best 30 for 30s that the Rat Ship had, the greatest there ever was or never was. Marcus Dupree was fantastic. Survive and Advance, 83 Wolfpack, phenomenal. Phenomenal. The Bad Boys, the 30 for 30 Bad Boys was incredible. I thought it was incredible, and the U was very good. But there's absolutely no way. You know why you're putting that in there? You friggin' little slug. You're putting that in there because of the Boston Red Sox. I don't want to hear it. MLB umpires are getting exposed, and I'm all for it. The U is fraudulent. Go and actually watch the Convicts for a Catholic game. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. Winning time? No. No. Try to mock starts, and yet Reggie Miller was also crying. I don't want to hear that. Total misrepresentation. Catholics versus the Cons was fantastic. It was fantastic. I remember that game. That was 1988, Notre Dame, Michigan. I believe that was one of the most watched college football games ever, like ratings-wise. It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. It was a hell of a game. But that game also, if you go back, see, that's the beauty of, that's when everything was different. I mean, seriously. I know we're dating ourselves, but even with the NFL, right? CBS, Madden and Summerall, that game was so earlier in the season. That was a non-conference game. I think it was like week 4 or 5. And you had the T-shirt that was created, right? Catholics versus the Convicts, obviously. But that was a hell of a game. Notre Dame got the win, 31-30. But what made that game so special was that Miami comes into the game, and they had that, 35, 36, 37 game regular season winning streak. They were ranked number 1. Notre Dame was ranked number 4. You had to fight, right, in the tunnel. I thought it was one of the greatest college football games I've ever seen. Now, if you really back me in a corner, and maybe I'm a little biased, for me, the greatest college football game I ever saw, I remember as a kid, I would say it was Doug Flutie to his roommate, Gerard Phelan. Because that game, to me, was the first time, as a kid, it was, you didn't really understand, the Hail Mary. You just didn't know. You just didn't, you never saw a play like that. Boston College, right? Miami, and then, Flutie uncorks one, and here you go, and Musburger's call. So that was kind of my first, all right, here we go. Welcome to college football. And then obviously, a little later on, you had, the Notre Dames, the Miamis, the Michigans, and the whatnot. Reggie Miller one was great. It was. I mean, I thought it was well done. I hated it. By the way, the Reggie Miller one, we talk about basketball IQ and awareness, and the Knicks were not the smartest team back in the day. Their court acumen was eh. But if you recall, God rest his soul, because, and I forget who fouled out, but Anthony Mason had to get the ball in bounds. And that's not his job. That's not his strength. And obviously, I still believe that Reggie Miller with the friggin' kick and the trip, but whatever, I'm over it. It happens. But it was a very good one, yes. It was. Because it gave the good moments of the Knicks and the Pacers rivalry, which, by the way, we're never going to get back to that in the NBA. There was a good poll on YouTube about what NBA injury would you take back? I think I was the only one who mentioned Bernard King. Ooh. Remember those commercials back in the day after he ripped up his knee? He's like, oh, they can measure my knee, but they can't measure my heart. What was those, New Balance? Now, Bernard King, I'm glad you brought him up. My all-time favorite Knick, believe it or not. I don't think too many people know that. It's not Patrick Ewing. It's not Starks. I was always a Bernard King. I had a number 30. That was my guy. Love Bernard King. Here we go. Brooklyn, New York. Boom, boom, boom. Fort Hamilton High School, University of Tennessee. His brother, Albert King, lived next door a couple streets away from these two twins that I grew up with. So we used to play hoops in the driveway with Albert King. But Bernard King, you look at his career, and by definition, it's not, you want to sit there and say, oh man, this guy kind of bounced around. Yeah, he did. But everywhere he went, he was a scorer. He was prolific. And he had that run in 84 with the Knicks where he was averaging 40-something odd points in that series against Detroit. Great player, great story. And yes, the injuries totally derailed his career. Bill Walton, injuries derailed his career. I mean, you can go on and on and on with guys that just had their careers cut short because of injuries. Always. Miami chose to go for 2 and missed. That's right. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And you know what? That's a very good memory. I also believe what was the game? Was it the Orange Bowl with Nebraska? Didn't Tom Osborne also elect to go for 2 and the win? If memory serves me correct. What year was that? Oh man, what year was that? Was that 84? That was 84, wasn't it? Right? That was 84. I think Nebraska was trailing Miami. How about this for irony? I just put it up. So Nebraska's trailing Miami 31-30. And they had the touchdown. So he doesn't take the tie. And they would have won the national championship. He elected to go for 2. And was batted away. Remember the safety? Kenny Calhoun? Wow. That's crazy to think. They're going for it back then. What's the documentary talking about? Which one are we talking about? Which one? We want. Which one? What are the lies? I'm a little lost here. You guys are wrapping up the comments too fast. Boston College game, Gerard Phelan. Yep. Unknown classic college football game, D2 final, 1999 OT. D2 final, 1999 OT. My favorite college game of all time. Was that the Boise State? Was that the what was the play? That was 83. 83, 84 ball. Me and you, we got to get on the same page. 84 was BYU. What are we talking? The Holiday Bowl? No, 84 Nebraska, Miami. I'm pretty positive. 84, January 84, Nebraska, Miami. That was the Orange Bowl. Now, the 83 Orange Bowl, was that Nebraska, LSU? Now, the BYU, you're talking about the comeback with Jim McMahon? We all got to get on the same page here. I know the comments coming a little faster. What do we got here? Fantastic Googling on the fly. I don't need to Google. You know what? I'll tell you who's a Googler. Someone that doesn't know every line from a movie like Wedding Crashers, Jaws, or Shawshank Redemption. Right now, you're seeing both hands right here. That's what we do. The magic of TV. The magic of the podcasting. That's right up here, madman. That Bernard King, I can rip off all the stats for you. The U, it was lies. Wow. I didn't know we struck a nerve with a ball right there. Man, look at him just go. Look, ripping off the comments right there. Boom, 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 boom. Best college game I've been to, Youngstown State at Villanova. Brian Westbrook was killing. And somehow Youngstown State came back and won because Nova couldn't stop the option. That's the best college game. You know what's funny? Someone on Facebook had a post about the best semi-pro game you ever went to. So I was like, I got to go back. 2004, NAFL, South Jersey Lynx versus Central Penn Piranha. The Lynx were down 18. The Camden quarterback, Marty Cross, played at Camden High School. This was semi-pro ball. A couple of these guys had a cup of coffee in the NFL. Tommy Parks was a kicker. Sammy Rue was drafted by the Titans. But they were down 18. Marty Cross goes off with like 4 touchdowns in the friggin' fourth quarter. Throws for 450. And they're back. I think it was either Ed Dyson or I don't remember his last name, but picks off the Central Penn Piranha quarterback, goes 80 yards weaving through traffic. This was played at a field in Willingboro, right around the cemetery in South Jersey. There must have been 1,500 people, not only in the bleachers, but another 500 on sidelines, stand-wise. It was one of the greatest games I've ever seen on the football field, and it was a semi-pro game. It was an instant classic. I called it. I called the game for Live 365 back in the day. It was a crazy game. And I think Marty Cross wound up throwing for like 475 yards. I mean, we really went off the beaten path here, right? I mean, this is what we do. All right, a couple minutes before we get out of here. I see Notre Dame fans chiming in who don't like that I ripped Notre Dame. You'll have to get over it. Dukey 6 again chiming in. Q, this is utterly ridiculous. How would you love to be Duke right now if you're a St. John's fan? Why? We're in the same friggin' place, jackass. But why? Because Duke beat St. John's? Really? I mean, look what happened. You blew a huge lead yesterday. Come on. What are we doing here? Kevin chimes in. Q, did you see how Pitino wasn't happy about how the media was handling the interviews? Yeah, listen. Let me say this. So Rick Pitino, I get what Pitino was saying. Rick Pitino the other day was not happy because the way the NCAA set it up, the losing team, he felt that, you should interview the losing team first, right? Interview the losing team first. They should speak to the media. Instead, having the kids wait. That's just, come on, Rick. Just stop. You had no answers for Duke's bully ball. You couldn't, you had no way to just make adjustments against a 2-3. You didn't feed Hopkins more, and you took out Prey. You got out-coached in the second half. And I'm a huge fan of Pitino. I'm a huge fan. And I think the raw emotion of losing and then having these kids sit and have to wait, I get it. I understand. But, what are we going to do? We're going to rent the wheel right here? I heard some pundits also talk about previewing these games. And I'll say this. If I'm the NCAA, and if I have Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four, whether it's men's and women's, the media meets with these teams, let's just say on a Wednesday, and the game's going to be played on a Thursday. You don't need to meet with them again in the morning. Like, what changes from Wednesday night to Thursday? If you have certain questions, ask them Wednesday. That, I will say, make an adjustment. Because these kids still have to get mentally ready. They are young kids. Some of them are easily distracted, even though you're playing at a very high level. That's the one thing I would change. But I think Pitino's gripe, I think it's kind of, It's not that, I don't think he was right, and I don't think he was wrong. I think it was just, it was a bad loss. They could have won the game. They had a great run. He got out-coached. The finality of it is we're going to lose some players. Great careers have come to an end. And now the players have to sit there and wait to talk, and they got to let this emotion marinate. I understand that. I totally get it. But immediately after the loss, he comes out and says it, and the perception is the opposite. You're a bad loser. I don't think it's the case, to your point. All right, 4:44, got to start wrapping it up. Later on this week, a little more NBA, a lot more March Madness. And for those who didn't see Rudy, I suggest you watch it some point this week. All right, good stuff with the comments. I enjoyed you guys blasting Duke as much as I did on this Man Up Monday. We're powered by our good friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee, 3 Brooks Bourbon. Get ready with tea, and of course, Play It Again Sports, 2 locations, Deptford and Mount Laurel. We will be back in the Saddle Manana on a Tuesday edition. Check out the notifications, like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Don't forget, download the AUDACY app, 1029 FM The Game. And you guys can get us anywhere you go, especially on the YouTube channel. So a little more of the aftermath of the debacle that was Duke. We'll see. I don't think they're going to fire the head coach, but I do understand prisoners of the moment. I think UNC was a little bit of a different animal, and the way they lost to VCU. Now, does Hubert Davis get fired if UNC has that meltdown yesterday? Yeah, because it's a culmination of everything over the last several years. Scheyer, maybe he gets a little bit of a pass. I don't know, but this is back-to-back seasons. You had the debacle against Houston and the debacle against UConn. So Jonathan Marshall on college hoops, Costco later on the week, Steve Garner on baseball, Lloyd Vance, little NFL, manana. We'll talk some more off-season NFL news and notes. Keep it locked in. Always, you can follow me on social media at RichQ on Q, TikTok RichQ on the mic, and of course IG and X at RichQ on Q. You guys have a wonderful Sports Monday. Yes, we will get into a little baseball. Mark and Wallingford, I promise you. Early on, we're only a couple games in the season. Already Mets fans are booing Bichette. Go figure. We will talk a little more baseball later in the week. You guys have a wonderful Sports Monday. Appreciate you tuning into this edition of On Q. As always, I'm Rich Quinones. Be safe, be sound. Hasta luego, buen día.